This episode is brought to you by SmartVestor. Connect with an investing pro near you at RamseySolutions.com/SmartVestor.
Today's question comes from Isaac in Nevada. I'm 2 years out from retiring. I'd like to know the best strategy on how to start withdrawing funds from my 401k. Do I change the dividends to not reinvest? Is there a certain percentage that's safe to withdraw every month or year? And if so, how often should I withdraw?
Okay. Well, what I would do is sit down with your financial planner, your SmartVestor Pro if you have one, or your advisor, and have them crunch some numbers with you. The stock market has averaged 12%, 11.8% since it began. Okay. Inflation has averaged for the last 40 years, 50 years, somewhere around 4.2%. It's below that right now. It was above that during President Biden's tenure, due not to President Biden, but due to inflation. I'll just make a comment and keep rolling. Protect him just a little bit there. He got blamed for something that wasn't his. Anyway, but inflation comes and goes, in other words, and so do returns. Last year, you would have made over 20% on your money. The year before, you would have made over 20% on your money. The year before that, you wouldn't have made that. So just go back and look at some of the track record on the market. Now, if your funds are invested, figure out what they're have been averaging over the last many years and what you think they're going to average. But let's just use some easy numbers. Let's pretend that your funds are like mine and they're averaging around 12. Again, I made 26 last year, but they're averaging around 12. Okay? And inflation's 4. So if I draw out 12, the value of my nest egg starts to go away at the rate of inflation. The math is all still sitting there. If I only pull off the income and I let the nest egg sit there, that's fine. But $1 million 10 years from now, because of 4% inflation, it won't buy as much as it buys today. So it begins to erode your purchasing power if you take out the full amount that you're earning. Okay? If you took out 8% and left 4 in and it made 12, 12 minus 4 is 8, you would leave enough in to cover inflation, and you'd be pulling off enough. So your $1 million would grow by 40,000, but the purchasing power would lose by 40,000. So you would break even on what it would buy, because it'll take $1,040,000 next year to buy what $1 million would buy this year if inflation's 4%. That makes sense? Good. Okay. So if you pull off 8 or less, your money is growing still more than or equal to inflation, and it would run forever. If that math is correct. Okay. Now that's assuming you're earning 12 and inflation is truly 4, average over years. So if you had $1 million and you pulled off $80,000 a year, you'd be just fine. And you could do that monthly, you can do it quarterly, but you can say, I want to pull out an average of X percent of this nest egg. You can set it up at 60,000. I don't care. And leave a little more in there if that makes you nervous. What you don't want to do is draw out so much that you end up running out of money before your life is over. Hello. And so if you're making $120,000 on your $1 million this year and you pull out $150,000, eventually that's going to run into a wall if you live long enough, right? Because you're pulling out more than you're making, and so next year you're going to make even less because you don't have as much in there. You're killing the goose that's got the golden eggs coming out. So pull out less than the average that you project to earn by at least the rate of inflation. So what's your projection to earn, and what do you think inflation's going to be? Sit down with your advisor. A lot of people in the financial world say 6%. I'm comfortable with 8 because very few people outlive their money once they built a sizable nest egg. Now, if you're starting with $200,000, it's different than if you're starting with $2 million too. Changes the formula. Because if you whittle away at your $2 million and it gets down to only $1.5 million before you die, oh well, you didn't kill anything, right? No big deal. But if your $2 million grows to $3 million before you die and you live out of it, well, you leave a better inheritance is all. So you kind of got to, how much do you want to leave behind and gauge that. It always helps too to know exactly when you're going to die. Then you can run the math.
That's true.
That's helpful.
Yeah, there'll be an app for that soon. I'm certain of it.
But that's how this works. So you will also find, my dear Isaac, that there's a lot of financial nerds out there that are complete freaks about this stuff that actually hate the advice I just gave you.
This is true.
They are very vocal about how stupid I am and how many people are going to die broke because of Dave Ramsey. I don't want you to die broke. I want you to get broke right before you die. Because you've enjoyed the money, gave the money, done with the money what you wanted to do with it, whether it's an inheritance or something else.
Can we mess with the critics just real quick?
Why
just
not?
for fun.
Why not?
What are we talking, Dave? 48 hours, 72 hours, broke right before you die? Because you know they're going to come after you for saying that.
You got to dial it in. You got to really know. But here's
boy.
the thing, too. What ends up happening is that this stuff is not static. See, like last year was 26%, the year before was 24%. Right. And so if you're pulling off 8, you've got huge gains. You got $1 million, you made $250,000 and you pulled off 80. Now backtrack that math, and that gives you a lot of pad for some years that have some down years and they don't quite earn 8. So most people, once they get to $1 million worth of retirement savings, and a lot of people have, in addition to other assets, then they're able to navigate their way through the next many years. So let's say this person is, by the way, at 72 and a half, you have mandatory withdrawals called required minimum distributions. What I'm giving you will beat that, so you don't have to worry about it. And, oh, by the way, too, you got to pay taxes on this if it's a traditional 401k and not a Roth 401k. So taxes come out of that $80,000. That's $80,000 worth of income. And so minus taxes, that's what you got to live on that example. So that's the way you can back into it and then play with the numbers back and forth. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, fine. If you want to spend a little more, that's fine too. Most of the time I find, though, Ken, it's harder to get people to actually spend that have been savers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We get a lot of calls here asking for permission to enjoy the money that they built up over the last 30 years. A lot of those calls.
Yeah.
And we want to give you permission. We want to teach you to live like no one else, sacrifice, so that later you can live and give like no one else. And be in a position that if someone you love is in trouble, you can just help them. You got the money. Shut up. It's not a big deal. And so a lot of times, here's the thing. We find people that have been living on $60,000. When I talk to them about pulling 80 out, they think they're in heaven.
That's true.
You know? And so that's more what we run into than some financial nerd on TikTok who's decided Dave Ramsey's good clickbait.